everyone, and welcome to the California Department of Education's Literacy Knowledge Building video series. In this video, we will learn about the purpose and best practices of interventions in coaching. For this video, be sure to download the handouts located on California Educators Together. The Literacy Knowledge Building video series is a series of videos on critical topics in literacy birth through grade 12. It was developed by the California Department of Education and literacy experts from the state literacy team, and it is complementary to the work of the Federal Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grants. You can learn more about this grant by going to https://www.cde.ca.gov/pd/ps/clsd.asp. This video series is intended to provide guidance and resources on critical topics in literacy, to support the work of the CLSD grants, and to build coherence between California's literacy guidance documents, standards, and frameworks and how they all support literacy. A primary objective of the CLSD grant is to bring coherence between California's guiding documents, some of which you see here, like the Preschool Learning Foundations, the Infant Toddler Learning and Development Foundations, the Practitioner's Guide for Educating English Learners with Disabilities, the Dyslexia Guidelines, and the English Learner Roadmap Policy. Other content area standards and frameworks support literacy as well. The videos produced in this series will illustrate the connections between all of these documents and also explain how the documents themselves support literacy development for our students. Videos will be produced over the course of the CLSD grant period. To be informed when new videos are posted, join the CLSD listserv by sending a blank email to join-cde-literacy@mlist.cde.ca.gov. And now I will turn it over to our presenters.
Welcome to the video on interventions in coaching, purpose and best practices. This video will be brought to you by the following people listed on this slide: Lucy Pearson Edwards, Director of Continuous Improvement and Academic Support; Mindy Montano, English teacher on special assignment; Nancy Cushion-White, Clinical Professor of Pediatrics; and Nancy Rogers-Ziguera, Editor of the California Reader and Teacher Leader. Each of us is bringing varying perspectives and experience to thinking in this presentation. This presentation is based on resources on the CDE website and in the English Language Arts, English Language Development, ELA/ELD framework. The outline for this presentation is in 3 parts. Section 1 is the use of assessments to inform intervention decisions and purposes of interventions. Section 2 is how to use data as a coach. We will be role-playing a coaching conversation, specifically addressing what questions to ask when holding a data conversation and how to put students into intervention groups. Section 3 will focus on what coaches can do to foster progress monitoring, observation, model lessons, and checkpoints. School teams are encouraged to stop the video at any time and discuss the ideas presented. There will be several pause and ponder points where it is highly recommended that viewers stop the video and read handout materials and/or apply the information to their classroom or school data. Our learning targets for all sections of the videos: to establish purpose of assessment, establish purpose of interventions, review key ideas about using assessment cycles to form intervention groups, model a coaching session, establish best practices for grouping students, review best practices for implementation of progress monitoring.
For section 3, we're going to explore responses to the question, what might coaches do to support interventions and foster progress monitoring? In this section, we will explore how important the coaching role is regarding instruction for interventions at schools. In addition to helping with the assessment administration efforts and data analysis for identifying student groups, we will discuss several coaching models that help coaches with conducting observations, model lessons, and analyze learning. We'll also quickly discuss how coaching can help support intervention cycles with progress monitoring and checkpoints. This slide depicts the data-informed decision-making cycle. This cycle is shown as phases in a circle, starting at the top of the circle Each phase then progresses or evolves into another phase in a clockwise manner. Progress monitoring is the first phase, starting at the top of the circle, followed by framing issues, asking the right questions, going around to the right side of the circle. Data collection is the next phase, followed by data analysis. Around on the left-hand side of the circle is data interpretation, ending up with decision-making, forming groups, and starting teaching. For this section, we're going to focus on decision-making, forming groups, and starting teaching. From providing support around data analysis, identifying student groupings, and modeling instructional support, coaches can play a big role in the intervention cycles at school sites. As we remember from the Using Assessment to Inform Instruction video, intervention cycles are fluid and flexible depending on student need and local resources. Coaches, as part of the site instructional leadership team, can help schools coordinate, schedule, and monitor the regular assessment administration process and intervention cycles to better meet the needs of students and staff. As we recall, instruction for intervention may be an extension of the core curriculum from Tier 1, or may include instruction and materials specifically designed for temporary intervention. Preferably, interventions serve small groups of 3 to 5 students using materials that address the major components of reading instruction: comprehension, fluency, phonemic awareness, phonics, and vocabulary. The areas of instruction are based on the results of students' scores on universal screeners. The intervention cycle may look different depending on need and scheduling options across schools and districts. For example, intervention might entail 30 minutes of daily targeted instruction to small groups for 6 to 8 weeks. Or in another context, students may receive 20 or even 40 minutes of focused instruction 3 or 4 days a week for a trimester, or anywhere in between. Students' grade level and needs should determine the duration. Coaches can help school leadership determine what intervention structure maps with the school's resources and help staff zero in on the specific skills students need at each grade level based on the suite of measures used during the universal screening process. This information is from Hamilton, Halverson, Jackson, Mandanock, Sapovitz, and Wayman, 2009, using student achievement data to support instructional decision-making. Data coaching. According to Hamilton et al., several factors, planning, leadership, implementation, and attitude, affect the success schools will have with developing and maintaining a data culture. The authors of using student achievement data to support instructional decision-making suggest that data coaches or facilitators should meet at least monthly with grade and subject level teacher teams, although teacher teams should meet independently more frequently. During these meetings, data facilitators can also model data use and interpretation, tying examples to the school's vision for data use and its learning goals. Model how to transform daily classroom practices based on the data-driven diagnoses of student learning issues, assist staff with data interpretation by preparing data reports and related materials, and train and support staff on using data to improve instructional practices and student achievement. During interventions, effective teachers employ a variety of grouping strategies to maximize student learning. Coaches can help educators determine how often and when to group students based on need. Coaches can help determine whether instruction is provided at times to the whole group and at other times to small groups or individuals. Coaches can help us remember that grouping is flexible and not static. They are formed and dissolved as students' needs evolve. Membership changes as students move in and out of groups depending on their purpose. After a quick pause and ponder, we will dive into 2 coaching models that can help support schools and students. This is a time for teams to pause and ponder. Take a moment to stop, reflect, and discuss these questions as a team. In this last section, we discussed intervention cycles and data coaching. Does everyone on your team have a shared understanding of the following questions? How are your school's intervention cycles structured? How often? What is the duration? How are coaches used during the intervention cycles? Who on campus helps with modeling data, interpretation, and use? Who helps strengthen staff capacity with using data to inform instruction? Take a moment to pause and ponder. Coaching models, this one from the New Teacher Center. As discussed in Ariel West's working document for the ERWC Steering Committee from 2019, Instructional Coaching in K-12, a literature review and discussion questions, the New Teacher Center, or NTC, presented a continuous coaching cycle that includes 3 high leverage activities. 1, lesson planning, where coaches support teachers to plan instruction aligned to curriculum, rigorous standards, and effective research-based teaching practices. 2, observing instruction, where coaches continuously observe for and provide feedback to teachers on their instructional practices with a focus of ensuring equitable outcomes for every student. And 3, analyzing learning, where coaches support teachers to analyze and interpret evidence of student learning and strategically plan, adjust instruction that is aligned to standards, and plan scaffolded instruction to meet the needs of every student. Coaches can be vital in helping teachers employ a variety of grouping strategies to maximize student learning. As we recall, for interventions to address student needs, instruction is provided at times to the whole group and at other times to small groups or individuals. Again, grouping is flexible. Groups are not static. Coaches can help teachers form and dissolve groups as needs evolve. NTC, or the New Teacher Center, emphasizes that coaches need to pay attention to all 3 of these areas and connect them tightly to shift teacher practice so student needs are better met. Additionally, for each activity, coaches need to go deep with the teachers on the content of the course. For instance, when planning lessons together with teachers, instead of staying on the surface of classroom time management, coaches can discuss with teachers in details about the content teachers plan to deliver in class and questions they plan to ask students. Another well-known coaching model comes from the Kansas Coaching Project and Instructional Coaching Group, where researchers studied instructional coaching for a decade, examining the moves coaches make to help teachers set and achieve goals. As presented in Ariel West's working document for the ERWC Steering Committee from 2019, Instructional Coaching in K-12, a literature review and discussion questions, in the Kansas Coaching Project, researchers concluded that a 3-step instructional coaching cycle, identify, learn, and improve, can help coaches become more effective in supporting teachers. This 3-step instructional coaching cycle consists of 1, identify. This is when the coach and teacher collaborate to set a goal, which can be a change the teacher would like to see in student behavior, achievement, or attitude. Then they select a teaching strategy to try to meet that goal. 2, learn. Once the teacher and coach set a goal and choose a teaching strategy, the teacher must learn how to implement that strategy. For the coach, this means explaining and modeling teaching strategies similar to the New Teacher Center coaching model. Coaches need to be precise when they explain teaching practices. They might, for example, clearly explain the items on an instructional checklist while also asking teachers how they might want to modify the checklist to best meet students' needs or take advantage of their own strengths as teachers. The third area, improve. Instructional coaches monitor how teachers implement the chosen teaching strategy and whether the goal previously set has been met. That is, whether the change the teacher would like to see in student behavior, achievement, and/or attitude has occurred. Teachers and coaches keep moving forward by modifying the way they use the identified teaching strategies, trying another strategy, or sticking with an identified teaching strategy until they reach the goal. Coaches can take on different roles in the 2 different coaching cycles. In the coaching cycle proposed by NTC, besides co-planning and observing, the coach serves as a data analyst by supporting the teacher to analyze and interpret evidence of student learning. In this framework, coaches provide clear, deep, instead of just the surface of the classroom management issues, and descriptive with non-judgmental feedback so that teachers can see their own practices more clearly and reflect on solutions and improvements accordingly. On the other hand, in the coaching cycle proposed by Knight et al., besides being involved in planning and goal setting, the coach is expected to collaborate with the teacher, explain and model instructional strategies. With this framework, the coaching is viewed as a form of collaboration, with the coach being a co-planner and instructional supporter to the teacher. This is a time to pause and ponder with your team. Take a moment to stop and reflect and discuss these questions as a team. In this section, we discuss several coaching models. Does everyone on your team have a shared understanding of the following questions? What does the coaching process look like at your site or district? How often do coaches work with staff? How often do they work with staff around planning, co-teaching, observing and providing feedback, and analyzing learning and data sets? Take a moment to reflect on these questions with your team and have a discussion about them. On this slide, we come back to the data-informed decision-making cycle again. As depicted on this slide, the cycle starts with progress monitoring at the top of the cycle, and then going around to the right of the circle, it's followed by framing issues, asking the right questions. Again, followed by data collection, data analysis, data interpretation showing up on the left-hand side of the circle, followed by decision-making, forming groups, and started teaching. We're now going to move on to progress monitoring, which is the phase that is depicted at the top of the cycle. As we recall from earlier in this video, high-performing schools use a data-informed decision-making cycle to provide differentiated instruction and monitor student progress. Coaches can be extremely helpful in the coordination of the progress monitoring processes so important to intervention cycles. According to the ELA-ELD framework, assessment serves as feedback regarding the impact of instruction on students. The results of assessment lead educators to consider structural changes to improve teaching and learning, such as regrouping, changing up elements of the curriculum, modifying schedules, or seeking additional instructional supports for students as needed. In Chapter 9 of the ELA-ELD framework, it describes how regular, careful monitoring of students' progress should occur to ensure that instructional approaches and interventions are appropriate and effective. Using data systematically to ask questions and obtain insight about student progress is a logical way to monitor continuous improvement and tailor instruction to the needs of each student. Of critical importance is the children's acquisition of foundation skills in the early grades, as acquisition of these skills is fundamental to progress and literacy achievement. Children experiencing difficulty with code, including building fluency, should be provided immediate support. Intensifying instruction, reducing group size, and providing ample practice with text in meaningful contexts are crucial for these students. Students may experience reading difficulty in many ways. Students may have difficulty with the code, making meaning, language limitations such as limited vocabulary, and inadequate relevant content knowledge. It is also important to recognize that by definition, English learners are learning English as they are also engaging in literacy tasks in English. What may appear to be a reading difficulty may in fact be normal English language development. Schools are encouraged to monitor student progress so that teams possess information on how a student is doing in general reading proficiency and improving in specific skills. It is important to use progress monitoring data to regroup students after a month to 6 weeks. Students in Tier 2 who demonstrate improvement and return to Tier 1 support should be carefully monitored to ensure that general classroom instruction is adequate. As teams regularly assess and monitor student responses to the interventions, teams can determine if students, 1, no longer need the intervention, 2, continue to need some intervention, or 3, need even more intensive intervention. For those students not making sufficient progress, Tier 3 interventions should be planned. Again, coaches can help support the system with these important decisions based on the data collected from universal screening and progress monitoring processes. It's time to pause and ponder again. Take a moment to stop, reflect, and discuss as a team. In this section, we discuss progress monitoring. Does everyone on your team have a shared understanding of the following questions? What is your school or district's process for progress monitoring? What measures are used? What is the timeline? What are the cut points to decide intervention services? Take a moment to reflect on these questions and have a discussion as a team. As we close this video, what are the key ideas resonating with your team? What might your next steps be? We want to thank you very much for your participation with this content. And as you have a closing conversation, what resonates with your team? What will you start doing? What will you keep doing? What might you stop doing? And what might your next steps be?
Thank you for viewing this video on interventions and coaching. Make sure to watch the other videos in this series, which you can access by going to the CDE website and searching for CLSD.